فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون. قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين. قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم. قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون. وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون. وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون. أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون. إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين. إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون. قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين. وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين. إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون. يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون. ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون. وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون. وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون. وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مسلمون. والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم. والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون. وإن نشاء نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين. وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون. وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين. وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا ونطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين. ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين. ما ينظرون إلا إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يقسمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في السور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يرى الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وعجل الفاتحة الحمد لله محمد وعلى محمد صلوات
हमारे दीगर बावज बुलंद सलवात मुझे हुसैन से नज़दीक कर गए आंसू, मुझे हुसैन से नज़दीक कर गए आंसू। फिर उसके बाद न जाने किधर गए आंसू। गमे हुसैन के दामन में थे तो जिंदा थे, गमे हुसैन के दामन में थे तो जिंदा थे, गमे हुसैन से बिछड़े तो मर गए आंसू। मुझे हुसैन से सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि मोहम्मद। एक दफा और दूर चार मिसरे। पहले ये मान ले के है मुश्किल कुशादी, पहले ये मान ले के है मुश्किल कुशादी, फिर देख तेरे वास्ते करते हैं क्या अली, फिर देख तेरे वास्ते करते हैं क्या अली, टल जाती हैं हमारी तो सारी मुसीबतें, टल जाती हैं हमारी तो सारी मुसीबतें, हम जब मुश्किलात में कहते हैं या पहले ये मान ले के हैं दुरुस्त। हमारे फौरन भाई अभी जर्सी से आए, खास तौर पे तो इंशाल्लाह ये भी महदूद होंगे आज के सलाम से। सलाम की तरफ से और कोई मज़हरे तावर नजर आता नहीं, और कोई मज़हरे तावर नजर आता नहीं, बज़ में कुन में दूसरा है दर नजर आता नहीं, बज़ में कुन में दूसरा है दर नजर आता नहीं, जिसको दिल तस्लीम कर ले हमसे रहते खुदा, जिसको दिल तस्लीम कर ले हमसे रहते खुदा, बेटे इतरत के सिवा वो घर नजर आता नहीं, और कोई मज़हरे दावर नजर आता नहीं, है अबू तालिब अली अब्बास से बेमिसाल, है अबू तालिब अली अब्बास से बेमिसाल, कोई उन जैसा वफा पे कर नजर आता नहीं, कोई उन जैसा वफा पे कर नजर आता नहीं, और कोई मज़हरे दावर नजर आता नहीं, यूं तो पंजों पर खड़े हैं कितने मैदाने, इनमें कोई फातह खैबर नजर आता है, इनमें कोई फातह खैबर नजर आता। मोहसिन भाई शेर बतौर खास, और कोई मज़हरे दावर नजर आता, जो मोहम्मद ने सजाया है वाले, जो मोहम्मद ने सजाया है दिल के अंधों को कोई मिंबर नजर आता नहीं, दिल के अंधों को कोई मिंबर नजर आता नहीं, और पीछे देखिएगा। दावर नजर आता पड़ गई है जिनके दिल पर बुग़्ज़ हैदर की नज़र पड़ गई है जिनके दिल पर बुग़्ज़ हैदर की नज़र उनको अहमद का कभी बिस्तर नजर आता उनको अहमद का कभी बिस्तर नजर आता नहीं और कोई मज़हर दावर नजर आता मर न जाए माँ कहीं मालिक ये मंजर देख कर सामने झूला है और असगर नजर आता और कोई मज़हर दावर नजर आता चल बसी बीनाइए कौसर नबी के लाल की ढूंढते हैं और अली अकबर नजर आता नहीं और कोई मज़हर दावर नजर आता बज़ में कुन्ने दूसरा है दर नजर आता नहीं और कोई मज़हर फातिहा मर्सी के 3-4 क्या शाने हबीब इब्ने मज़ाहिर का लिखूं क्या शाने हबीब इब्ने मज़ाहिर का लिखूं वो प्यास का सदर माहुज़ई फी वो सिनो क्या रुतबे आना था रहे अश्क तो ये फरमाता था भाई से खुद फातिमा तला फरमाता था भाई से खुद फातिमा वो इश्क था सलमानो अबू जर को नबी उनको उन्हीं फती हुसैन इब्ने अली उनको कोई फती हुसैन इब्ने अली बाकी जो रफी के हसरत से उन्हें देखते सैयद की बढ़ के हबीब इब्ने मज़ाहिर से ये पीर गुलाम अब है इजाज़त का तलब ये पीर गुलाम अब है इजाज़त का तलब बंदे को भी मरने की रज़ा दीजिए फिर तो हजरत ने सुना डरते मिले दोस्तों के, एक सर और आंखें हुई पर, फरमाया के यार कहीं है मेरे हाँ, इस वक्त मुझे अपनी जुदाई का न दे, इस वक्त मुझे अपनी जुदाई का न दे, है कौन रफीकों में बच गया हमारे, एक चाहने वाला तो है पास हमारे, एक चाहने वाला तो रहे पास हमारे, नागाह सफेद चीर के आए चले, देखा कि वो मजलूम कोई दमता है, लाशे से लिपट कर ये पुकारे बसदा, ऐ दोस्त मेरे तेरी मोहब्बत में गुल, ऐ दोस्त मेरे तेरी मोहब्बत में मैं दिखला दो मुझे ज़ख्म कहाँ खाए हैं साथी से निपट जाओ के हम आए हैं साथी से निपट जाओ के हम आए हैं, क्या शान हबीब इब्ने मुज़ाहिर का लिखूं तमस।
मुमिनीन, से पहले कि मैं मौलाना को आज के लिए लाऊं, मैं रिक्वेस्ट यू ऑल टू प्लीज मूव लिटिल फॉरवर्ड एज मच पॉसिबल, एज मच यू कैन कम फॉरवर्ड प्लीज। जज़ाकल्लाह, जज़ाकल्लाह। So the program at Al-Noor inshallah will continue till the 12th of Muharram, and all these majalises will be recited by Hujjatul Muslimin Maulana Hamza Hussaini Sahab, who has come all the way from Harrow. The program starts at 8 o'clock with Surah Yasin, and with after a short marsiya, Maulana will take on the member for a lecture. Before Maulana begins his lecture, may I request you all to recite Surah Fatih for the मरहुमीन ऑफ tonight's sponsor हसन भाई, उनके तमाम मरहुमीन और आपके अपने मरहुमीन को लिए मैं नाम यहाँ पे पढ़ता हूँ, आप लोग सूरह फातिहा पढ़ लीजिएगा। मरहूम खुर्शीद मिर्ज़ा, मेहरुन्निसा बेगम, मीर तकी अली ख़ान, हाजरा बेगम, मीर आलम अली ख़ान, मीर दाऊद अली ख़ान, रियाल फ़ातिमा, मीर अस्कर अली, मीर नखी अली और तमाम जुमला मरहुमीन मोमिन मोमिनात। बिस्मिल्लाह।
जनाब हबीब इब्न मज़ाहिर असदी बावाज़ बुलंद सल्लल्लाहु। हुसैन की मोहब्बत में 2 दफा जान दी है तूने ए हबीब। जिसे वाकया मालूम हो बचपन का वो समझ जाएंगे कि ऊपर खड़े हुसैन इब्न अली का इंतजार कर रहे थे और गिरे और उसकी मौत वाकई हो गई थी। फिर इमाम हुसैन सलाम ने दुआ की तो उनको जिंदगी मिली। हुसैन की मोहब्बत में 2 दफा जान दी है तूने ए हबीब, बचपन में हुसैन की दुआ से दोबारा पाई है जिंदगी तूने ए हबीब। अरे वली फकी का खिताब पाया है, अरे वली फकी का खिताब पाया है हुसैन से तूने, खुश किस्मत के सानिए ज़हरा का मिला है सलाम तुझे ए हबीब। खुश किस्मत के सानिए ज़हरा का मिला है सलाम तुझे ए हबीब। बरज़मत जनाब हबीब इब्न मज़ाहिर बावाज़ बुलंद सलवात।
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأشرف الأنبياء حبيب وحبيبنا العالمين بالقاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
صلى الله على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. Hands and hearts. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا محجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. دعاء فرج. اللهم كن وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقاعدا وناصرا ودليلا حتى تسكنه عرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. Please recite aloud salawat. Firstly, once again, I'd like to ask for the permission of the Imam of the time and Hazrat Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha to accept this small ibadah, this qaleel ibadah in this house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And would like to send my condolences to the Imam of the time and the Ahlul Bayt and all the Maraji'een around the world who are at the front lines of this religion and defending it. So my topic today will be on how Shaitan or the devil divides mu'mineen and distracts them from the original path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Ahlul Bayt, for this is one of the jobs that the Shaitan will be doing in the Akhirul Zaman, at the end of times. It is in many different riwayat mentioned that the Shaitan, he attacks mu'mineen in different ways, and the haqiqat is that Shaitan, he attacks mu'mineen on this path physically and spiritually. Please recite the salawat. So the army of Shaitan, they are from who? From the Jannat. And they attack us in this world physically and spiritually. And if any shortcomings come from these Shaitan within their army, yani if they're slacking, then the Shaitan himself, the leader of all of them, who was banished from the heavens, Iblis, He punishes them. So it's not just as though we hear, oh yes, shaitan, he just was and just whisper something into our ears as if though he is artificial. Just because we can't see him doesn't mean that he doesn't exist in reality. There is a reality to it. So according to the great philosopher and our great alim of Shia history, Allama Mullah Sadra, he says that shaitan took an oath and he swore to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not swearing as in he used bad language, but he swore to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I will advise who? Hazrat Hawa and Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. And it comes in the ayah of the Holy Quran where he says, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَسَمَهُمَا إِنِّي لَكُمَا لَمِنَ النَّاسِحِينَ. He took an oath that he will misguide them. And for us, he has taken an oath. Please recite Salwan. So the shaitan took an oath that he will what? He will advise Hazrat Adam and Hazrat Hawa. But for us, he has taken an oath that he will misguide us. Now, with that one advice, Hazrat Adam and Hazrat Hawa came down from the heavens. Just imagine the state that we'll be in if we take upon his misguidance, which he has promised to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And many of his plans have been mentioned in the Holy Quran of how he will misguide us human beings. One of them is to destroy the connections between mu'mineen. Now, mu'mineen throughout the whole of the world, right? So any part there is a mu'min in throughout this world, shaitan has promised that he will misguide them. And those connections, if are not connected with one another, the society of Islam is going to get diminished, right? Finish totally. So the ethics of a human being are within these teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, that we stick together, we stay as one community, we love for one another. Just like the connection or love that is within a family, right? If that was to break, the family would disperse. Or the connection between a mother and a father, the connection of the parents between their children, or the connection of mu'mineen with one another, the connection of mu'mineen with the imam of the time. Shaitan tries to break every single one of these. So these are all connections that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon us to make us stronger. And shaitan, what's his job? To break these connections and make us weak, so that he can attack us much more easily, right? Now, I don't know if you guys are going to accept this or not, but we actually learn from the ayat of the Quran that what the plan of shaitan is. Isn't it similar to the divide and conquer concept? Where does it originally come from? It's that original plan of who? Shaitan. And for this reason, it is advised so much in our religion that mu'mineen should try and connect with one another. And they say in the ahadith that jama'ah, or jamaat as we call it in our language, is one of the best advices that has been advised from the Ahlul Bayt to us mu'mineen. Now, I don't want to talk about the sawab of this namaz-e-jamaat or the salatu-jama'ah, but it is said that if more than 10 people recite Salatul Jama'ah together, that even the jinn and the malaik upon this universe can't count those blessings. But it was so recommended that the Prophet, peace be upon him, he would, at times when he would see that people aren't attending the congregational prayers, which he would lead, he would go after them so that they don't go towards the path of shaitan. Now, just elaborating a bit on that, I don't know if you guys have heard the hadith of Amir al-Mu'mineen, in which he states that if we want to run away from sins and we're on our own, we should go into a place where there's a gathering. Obviously a good gathering, right? Of mu'mineen or even friends that aren't going to do any guna. So being in a congregation is highly recommended by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is also mentioned that if 40 people are to get together and do dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts their dua, and it is mustajab in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For that hurma meaning the dignity of them 40 mu'mineen, that they say that we are the believers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Ahlul Bayt, just for that reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts their dua. As Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, I heard from my father that when our father wanted a dua to be accepted, he would sit us all down and he says, I will recite the dua and you lot say Ameen. And he said, even though he was an imam, but they knew the power of congregation. They knew the power of being together, being in a group of mu'mineen, which has more power than a single person. They give this example in our Eastern countries, that a father has like 40 sons and he tells them all to bring one stick each. And then he says, break them. Right? And then they easily break them one by one, all 40 of them. And then he says, okay, put all 40 sticks together and then tie them up and now try and break them. When they get together, they can't break them sticks. Why? Because the strength is much more. We have also read this hadith it's from Hadith Kisa, when Hazrat Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha is narrating this, and in the end it says that if a jama'ah of mu'mineen get together, ما ذخر خبر حاز في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وجمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزل الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة. You all heard this, right? That if a jama'ah or a congregation of mu'mineen Shia get together and don't read this unless there is the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed upon them, and the malaika of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descend upon that place and fill that place up with barakat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the effects of a jama'ah, a jam, or a mahfil, as we say in our language, of mu'mineen. So there's one point I just wanted to add in Hadith Qisam. I don't know how much of the secrets of Hadith Qisa brothers and sisters know. Ayatollah Bahjat once mentioned, and I was really astonished by this, I'd never heard this before. Ayatollah Bahjat mentioned, he says, one of the secrets of Hadith Qisa is that throughout Hadith Qisa, who narrates it? The Holy Lady Hazrat Fatima, right? But one secret part of this Hadith Qisa is that when she narrates the conversation between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Hazrat Jibreel. How is that possible? that personality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who we respect and we look up to, and our religion is based on that holy lady. Yani she was on this earth and could hear the conversation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Jibreel. Just one blessing of Hadith Qissa. Imagine if we read something that she is narrating of that conversation. It's no less than the power of Hadith Qudsi. And I know so many people that have recited these du'as. They haven't had children for so many years. 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. And because of continuously reciting these du'as and these blessings that we got from the Ahlul Bayt, they have children within they don't have children within a month, but they get the results that they're going to become children within a month. Allahumma salli ala. So sometimes we get this dua or this prayer, this hajat of ours accepted whilst we come into these Hussainiyas, or whilst we're in a masjid, or whilst we're with a gathering of mu'mineen. Why? Because there's always, this is narrated by the hadith, I'm not making this up by myself, by the way. This one person who is within that gathering, we see the narrations of these as well. When Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, he was making dua, or when Imam Raza alayhi salam, he was making dua of the rain, and one person out of them was a sinful person, but his heart got broken. So we say that one person out of all of these mu'mineen is always heartbroken or sorrowful, and because of that sorrow that that person has, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts the dua of all those mu'mineen around him. Let me ask you guys this one question. Brothers and sisters, who is it that every single night when we come here and we say that the most dua of every mu'min is accepted in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is that person that comes into this mahfil or this program of ours and our du'as are mustajab, our du'as are accepted in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Isn't it promised in the ahadith that the Imam of the time, he comes to every zikr of Imam Hussain alayhi salam? Isn't it promised that the mother of Imam Hussain alayhi salam comes to every single zikr of Imam Hussain alayhi salam? Don't have doubt on this. And this is why our doubts go astray. And this is why all of our hajat are accepted. Why? Because that holy lady is always in these programs of ours, which are connected to Abu Abdullah. Please recite the salawat. So Rasul Turk is a name of a person who was in Iran and he had gone astray. Turk meaning a person who's originally from Turkey. So the population in Iran originally they're made from either they speak the Azerbaijan language or they speak the Turkish language. It's quite transformed over time because of the distance. The dialect is quite different, but they originally were from Azerbaijan and the Iranian over these thousands of years, or they're from Turkey. So his name was Rasul Turk, and he had gone astray. You could say he was a gangster of his time. And in children's books throughout the whole of Iran, you'll find stories of him. And this person, he turned religious and he started his hardcore belief, you could say, in Imam Hussain and Abu Abdullah. So this is the Masaib that he heard. So the Maulana that was reading the Masaib, he could smell the alcohol from him when he came into the majalis. Nobody had the guts to even say anything to him. So the Maulana, the Sheikh, the one who's giving the speech, he says that how can anybody come into the Masa'ib of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and when his breath smells of alcohol, with that najis mouth, and cry for Abu Abdullah? And what answer will he give to his mother, Lady Fatimatu Zahra? That how I went to this majalis of your son. Since that day, he stopped and would cry for 30 minutes after the Masa'ib of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Now, just one thing I want to mention is that, at times when we can't cry at the Masa'ib of Abu Abdullah, it is recommended in a hadith from our sixth Imam that at least we should act upon that. For one tear for Abu Abdullah takes you straight into heaven, right? And our sixth Imam says that even acting as if though you're crying through the Masa'ib of Abu Abdullah will also get you into the heavens. So this person, Rasul Turk, he becomes friends with a sheikh by the name of Sheikh Raza. Wherever this majalis of Abu Abdullah would happen and Sheikh Raza would go and recite these majalis, this person would also go with him. So one day, this Sheikh Raza, he goes to recite a majlis somewhere. And he forgets to tell this friend of his. So Rasul Turk, he reaches this majlis of Abu Abdullah. And he's shouting out loud, saying that, "Where are you, O pure lady? Where are you, O pure lady?" Whilst he reaches there. So Sheikh Raza, he asks him, he says that, "How did you get this address?" "I didn't tell you." "So where did you get the address from?" He replies that Hazrat Fatimatu Zahra came into my dreams. And she told me, "There's a majalis of my son at this address. I want you to go, and I will be there also." See, a person who had gone totally astray. And there's thousands of examples like this. That these people who have gone astray, they come into the majalis of Abu Abdullah, and just that 30 minutes or 45 minutes changes their whole lifetime. And takes them in the opposite direction towards goodness, whereas they were on that bad path. We take these majalis really lightly, unfortunately. So we mentioned at times when there is a gathering of 40 people, and due to that person who is really upset or heartbroken, we've mentioned who that person is in our majalis. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts everybody's dua, everybody's hajat, and forgives every single person who has attended that program of Abu Abdullah. There is a narration in Wasail al-Shia that if 40 people, 40 mu'mineen, gather and read a salat mayyat of someone, the namaz janazah of someone, and read that dua, which we read, Allahumma inna la na'lamu illa khayra, that we haven't seen anything apart from good deeds from this person who has passed from this world. Okay? We haven't seen any sin, any guna, any bad deed from this person that has passed away from this world. Inni qad ajaz shahadatakum. I will accept your shahadat. Who's saying this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says, وَكَفَرْتُ لَا مَا عَلِمْتُمْ إِلَّا مَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And whatever I know, you don't know, but still will forgive this person. So a jamaat, a gathering of mu'mineen can even help someone who has passed away from this world. That's why we have these Isal Sawab majalis, right? and we do the zikr of Abu Abdullah in them. So even that person who has gone, he is helped with that blessing. Or even if a family gets together and sits on a sufra or a table, sitting down to eat some food, or even goes on a picnic somewhere, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I will forgive their sins also. Whereas in today's society, you'll see that son's going having breakfast separately, father's going separately, mom's going separately, everyone's going their own way. No one even has the time to sit down together and attain those blessings. Don't need any effort. Everyone's going to sit down together in one place. Start with Bismillah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I will forgive your sins. I will bless you. I will increase your rizq. The Prophet, peace be upon him, narrates that before they make the intention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already forgiven their sins. Those people, that family, whether that be a 4, 5, or 3, when they make that intention that we're going to sit down together and eat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already has forgiven their sins. فَنَظَرَاهُ فِي الرَّحْمَةِ فَيَكْفَرُوا أَن يَتَفَكَّرُوا. I mean, they're not doing ibadah or zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are they? They're just eating. They're probably just even having a laugh. But just because of them getting together, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive their sins. This blessing that we have from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala isn't only something which is in our iman, but it's something which is genuine and genetical also. You're going to be surprised. How is it genetical? If someone says, like as they say in our centers, right? They say that I'm from so and so place, and this person has the same background or the culture as me. Either he's from Hyderabad, or he's from Delhi, or Karachi, or Islamabad. This is how we tend to think the bond is made. But it's not like that. I was shocked when I read this as well, but this is all from the riwayat. That exactly like those cells that we have in our body, just suppose like we hit our foot somewhere, right? Let's make it more specific. We hit our toe somewhere, yeah? Whether that be a thin toe or a fat one, doesn't matter. But we hit it somewhere. I won't end up saying that this foot that I have hit, it's only that part of my feet that are hurting, and the rest of my body has no connection with it. Why? Because this whole body and these cells are connected with one another, and they're under the ruling of what? That one soul, that one ruh that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us. So if one part of the body is hurt, the other part is automatically affected. This gathering that we're sitting in now, sorry, I'm giving a lot of examples of this gathering today. But this gathering that we're sitting here in now is also connected. And it's for that reason that we all feel sorrow for one another at times. Why? Because we're all under that wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. And we feel the pain if anyone else feels pain. We feel that pain when that holy lady comes and sits in our mahfil or in our azadari. Just like anyone who becomes shaheed in this world, how the blood of that shaheed affects us. Jabir Jofi was one of the companions of Imam Baqir alayhi salam. He says, at times I feel depressed. I mean, depression throughout the whole world. I can't say just the West, otherwise I'm going to be biased. Throughout the whole world, depression is a main factor. Right? How do we deal with it? So he comes to the Imam, he says, at times I just feel depressed. The word taqabbaztu is used. And I feel down and I don't even know the reason of it. My family even understands that something is wrong with me. I look like I'm upset. I look like something is wrong, but I don't know the real feeling of why I am upset. So the Imam replies, he says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَلَقَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مِنْ تِينَةِ الْجَنَانِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created mu'mineen from the clays of paradise. فَلِذَلِكَ فَعَجَرَ مِنْ رُوحِ الرِّيحِ. And from a part of his spirit, he blew into the mu'mineen. فَلَذَلِكَ مُؤْمِنٌ أَخِي الْمُؤْمِنِ بِأَبِي وَأُمِّهِ. And it is for this reason that mu'mineen are physically also the brothers of one another. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions in the Holy Quran, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِخْوَةٌ. And then continues to say that if any one of them are upset anywhere around the world, another one is upset also. We see the reality of that when these events occur in Palestine. It brings sorrow to our hearts. Makes us upset. It makes us angry. It makes us want to raise our voices. It makes us want to speak against the oppressors. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put that feeling in our hearts. He has connected us physically and spiritually. Or at times, how is it that a mother, when she's halfway around the world and she feels that her son is on the other side of the world, and if he's upset or is hurt, she'll automatically feel that feeling. Most of the elders have probably experienced this because when they came from their countries, were probably far away from their parents, right? So they have a better understanding of this. Our great ulama say that if you ever feel upset, do astaghfar. Do astaghfar for other mu'mineen. For if you do astaghfar of other mu'mineen, your own gунah, your own sins will be forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you'll feel lighter too. One day Abu Abdullah was walking past a poor man. And he sees this poor man, he takes one bite of food and then he gives one bite to the dog. He takes one bite of food and then he gives another bite to the dog. So Abu Abdullah, he goes up to him and he asks him, he says, what are you doing? He replies to me, he says, I'm really upset. So I thought probably if I feed this animal of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'll probably enlighten myself or feel a bit better than I am feeling now. Maybe these sad feelings will go away if that dog gets happy. The Imam heard this and he said, MashaAllah, this person is ba ma'rifat. He's got ma'rifah. He has some knowledge. So the Imam went home and he brought 200 dinars. He brought 200 dinars and went to the owner of the slave. The owner of the slave was a Jewish man. He asked him, how much would you sell this slave to me? Even though that this Jewish man wasn't Muslim, he said that because he had respect for Abu Abdullah, he said, in your honor, because you're the grandson of the Muslims' prophet, I will give you the slave for free. And I'll give you the land alongside it too. So the Imam asks that, okay, thank you very much. And he says, okay, so what I'll do now is I'll free the slave, give him the land, and this 200 dinars that I have brought with me. The wife of this Jewish man, the owner, who was the owner of the slave, she sees this and she says, is this how beautiful Islam is? Is this how blessed this religion is? So she says, if Islam is so generous, I will forgive my husband for the dowry that he owes me, the mahriya, and I want to turn to Islam. So the husband sees this and he says, what do I have to lose? I will forgive you my house and I'll turn to Islam as well. The Imam says how much blessing this one action of this person had when he just wanted to give this animal of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that intention, a little bit of food, so he gets happy. Two people turn to Islam, he is free and he has a land to start a new life. Man naffasa mu'min qurbatan. If any mu'min slaves the difficulty, please say salawat. If any mu'min solves the difficulty of any person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive all of his sins. Even if a person wants to check and doubt himself or test himself that if he is a real mu'min and he knows that someone is in need and doesn't help them, he should start doubting himself that if he is a real mu'min. I mean, even if he can't help that mu'min or that person, should at least do some dua or pray for that person at least. What do we do? Especially with all these Muslims getting killed around the world and being oppressed. I mean, okay, we can't help them, right? We can support them, or we can do dua for them. If we can't support them, we don't have the funds. But we tend to do none of them at all. For the Prophet, peace be upon him, would always try to help people in problems. As we've heard the story of that Jewish lady who threw rubbish onto the Prophet, peace be upon him. He even goes and helps her. And he sees, are you okay? Even if she wasn't a mu'min. And she brought iman unto Rasulullah and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Ahlul Bayt. Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he was in Darul Imara and the governor of Kufa at the time, he would stay next to the gatekeeper and wait there for other people to come and ask him questions or if they needed any help. So the guard would say that, Amir al-Mu'mineen, you go inside. It's hot out here. Why don't you go inside? We'll send the people to you. He said that I don't want them mu'mineen or them people in need to wait for me until they go past the guards and it takes them too long. So I'm going to wait here. Just one last story and then inshallah we'll go into the Masai. Rumayla was one of the Sahaba of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So she realizes that she has a really high temperature. And she goes into her house. For a few days she's ill. And then on the day of Jum'ah she feels a bit better. So she says, let me go and recite Salat al-Jum'ah behind Amir al-Mu'mineen in Masjid Kufa. She goes and she recites Salat al-Jum'ah behind Amir al-Mu'mineen, and whilst she's in the khutbah, whilst the Imam is reciting the khutbah, she feels unwell and her temperature rises and all of a sudden she gets pain within her whole body. So she says that, to herself that let me wait a bit. I mean, I don't want to miss this khutbah of Amir al-Mu'mineen and this salat or this namaz behind him. Well, I won't find these blessings anyway. So after the khutbah and the salat has finished, she's walking outside and she's walking towards the gates of Masjid al-Kufa, and Amir al-Mu'mineen is walking in front of her. Amir al-Mu'mineen turns around and he says that, Rumayla, was you in pain whilst I was reciting the khutbah? She replies, I was feeling really ill the last few days, and today I felt a bit better, but when I came and I started listening to the khutbah, I started feeling really badly ill again, and the temperature arose and I got a really bad pain in my body. This is the part that we all forget. So the Imam, he replies to her. He says that when you had the pain, I had the pain also. So every time that the Masumeen have a pain, we get a pain, right? And every time that we get a pain in our hearts or whenever we are ill, the Masumeen also become ill. Just like when a child has a temperature and the parents, they're like, why isn't it me? And they're going through so much hardship as well. The mothers know this much better than I do. They understand this much better. They pray to Allah. They say even at times that, Ya Allah, make me ill. Let this child get better. Let this child recover really quickly. But in reality, the wilayah of the Ahlul Bayt is above the whole ummah. He is the father of the whole ummah. If that mother or father is getting ill when that child is ill, imagine how ill and how much feelings the imams and the ma'asumeen must be getting when they say that we are the fathers of the ummah and all the mu'mineen are our children. So it's a two-way love and a attachment. Sayyid Mahdi Qawam was a well-known arif in Qum. Well-known before the revolution. And lived in the capital. He was well-known for helping out. Inshallah, I'll just give this and then we can move on to the Masai. He was well-known for helping out people before the inqilab of Islam in Iran. So, I'm sorry I'm giving this example, but it's a beautiful example when you see it in the end. One day he goes towards a brothel. And he goes towards his brothel and he knocks on the door. And a woman opens the door, the woman who is in charge of all the deeds and I think the payments. I mean, I don't know what they actually call that woman. I know what they call a man. But she opens the door and she says, yeah, what do you want? He says, did a young girl come here today? And she says, yes, but she's been crying since morning. She's of no use. So he asks, he says that, how much money will you take for letting her go from this place? This brothel. To let her go from this place, how much money will you take? So he brought a lot of money with him. She gave him a high price. She gave him a high price. So he paid the money quickly and that girl came out. When the girl came out, she asked her, why did you help me? I was misguided, but I came here because I was in poverty. I went into this situation. Fortunately, this is a problem around the world. Western countries, Eastern countries. He said, why did you help me? I was about to start work, but it was because of poverty, but I didn't do anything. He asked her, are you Sayyida? Are you from the lineage of Hazrat Fatima Zahra? She says, yes. But how do you know this? He said that in my dream I had seen Hazrat Zahra And she told me, there's a girl in this building, and go and bring her anyhow and take her out of that place. He got accused, but he would always help people. I mean, at times, we'll be accused for helping people. But we have to see that connection that we have between the Ahlul Bayt and what wazaif are upon us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us always away from the sharr shayateen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the tawfiq to help out mu'mineen throughout this world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all of those mu'mineen and help those who have difficulties in this life for the hereafter. بحق فاطمة الزهراء, may we live and die on this path of Abu Abdullah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect the Imam of the time. And during these nights, as I did mention before, it is difficult for the Imam, even if we can give £1 sadaqah in the name and the safety of the Imam of the time. This box is there. Every time we enter or exit this majalis, and in return we will see the benefits and the bounties of it throughout this world. Sallallahu Sallallahu alayhi ya ibn Rasulullah. Sallallahu alayhi ya ibn Sallallahu alayka ya Abu Abdullah. Habib ibn Mazahir, also known as Habib ibn Mazahir al-Asadi, was a devout follower of the Ahlul Bayt and a close companion of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He was known for his piety, his wisdom, his bravery. His family had a strong connection to the Ahlul Bayt. His family had a strong connection to the Ahlul Bayt, and he maintained a close relationship with Imam Hussain. When Habib ibn Mazahir was a child, there is a touching and significant incident. It is said that Rasulullah, along with his grandsons Hassan and Hussain, visited the house of Habib's family. During this visit, the Prophet saw young Habib playing. The Prophet saw Habib following Abu Abdullah. Whatever sand was under the feet of Abu Abdullah, at this young age, Habib would pick up and throw upon his head. The Prophet gently lifted Habib and placed him on his lap and then looked at him with affection. According to the tradition, Prophet, peace be upon him, predicted the future of Habib. He said, this child will grow up to support my grandson, Hussain. He will be martyr while defending Hussain at Karbala. Many years past, the Imam is now in Karbala. The Imam writes a letter to Habib. In the letter he says, in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. From Hussein ibn Ali to the noble and devout Habib ibn Mazahir al-Asadi. Peace be upon you, O Habib. Please come to our aid and show your loyalty for Islam and me and my companions. When Habib reaches the lands of Karbala, he sees the Imam walking towards him. As he sees the Imam walking towards him, he drops himself from the horse and says, "Oh my Imam, I should be coming towards you." It reminds me of the time when Zainab dropped herself. But the difference is Zainab was much higher and her hands were tied. Here's Hazrat Zainab from the tents who says, "Oh Habib, may my salam be upon you. We thank you for coming." He sits on the ground and starts crying. He starts crying and throwing sand over him. He replies, "Never should a master thank this slave." The last moment of Habib ibn Mazahir are marked by sorrow and unwavering loyalty. As the sun rose on the day of Ashra, the air was thick with grief. Aba Abdullah's camp, vastly outnumbered, faced by the forces of Yazid. Habib, despite his age, wore his armor and prepared for the battle. His heart was heavy with the knowledge of the tragedy, but his iman was unshakable. He approached Imam Hussain the last time. His eyes filled with tears. "Oh, my beloved Imam, allow me to sacrifice my life for you and write this cause of yours." With a heavy heart, Imam embraced Habib. His voice choked with emotions. "Go, Habib, go, Habib, and may Allah be with you. Your loyalty will never be forgotten." As Habib rode into the battlefield, he fought with strength and courage. Each strike of his sword was fueled by his love for the Ahlul Bayt, and each commitment to justice. But the enemy's numbers were overwhelming. Surrounded by Yazid's soldiers, Habib was struck down. He fell to the ground, his bloody body bruised and bleeding. As he lay there, his life slipping away, his thoughts turned to Abdullah. He struggled to see the face of his beloved Imam the last time. Imam Hussain, witnessing the fall of this faithful companion, rushed to his side, kneeling beside Habib. Imam grabbed him in his arms, tears streaming down the Imam's face as he whispered words of comfort. Habib, my dear friend, your sacrifice will be remembered forever. You have earned a place in paradise. With his last breath, Habib managed a faint smile. My Imam, I have given my life for you and the cause of truth. May Allah grant you mercy and peace. Habib ibn Mazar closed his eyes. His soul departed. He was sacrificed. The Imam kissed his forehead and whispered a prayer, knowing that this loyal companion had attained eternal peace. O Abu Abdullah, I say Habib had you for his last moments, but who will be with you? Will there be anyone beside you? When Shimrun ala jalisa bisadrih, when Shimr will be sitting on your chest with the dagger in his hand, when Shimr will be sitting on your chest with the dagger on his hand, Ya Abu Abdullah, Ya Abu Abdullah, Sallallahu alayka Ya Abu Abdullah, ala la'natullahi ala qawmi الظالمين. وسيعلم الذين أي منقلبون ينقلبون. يا حسين يا حسين
अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए जब शाम है फातिमा ज़हरा तुझे रोए जब शाम है फातिमा ज़हरा तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए है अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए दुर्रा लिए पहरे पे सितमगार खड़ा है दुर्रा लिए पहरे पे सितमगार खड़ा है कैसे तेरे लाशे पे सकीना तुझे रोए कैसे तेरे लाशे पे सकीना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए ज़ैनब ने कहा शाम गरीबा मैं गाजी ज़ैनब ने कहा शाम गरीबा मैं गाजी बेपर्दा मुझे देख के बाबा तुझे रोए बेपर्दा मुझे देख के बाबा तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए सजदे के लिए जब लिया हाथों का सहारा सजदे के लिए जब लिया हाथों का सहारा तो सजाद मुसल्ले पे हमेशा तुझे रोए सजाद मुसल्ले पे हमेशा तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए जब शाम सहर फातिमा ज़हरा तुझे रोए जब शाम सहर फातिमा ज़हरा तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए हुसैन
Allahumma salli ala